Hello. So today I thought I would explore some strategies for playing over giant steps the way Barry Harris teaches it in Barry's improv class. Um, just like all things Barry Harris, it has an uncanny ability to get right to the core of the song and open it right up. And as we know, Giant Steps has three very disparate key centers. It starts on a B, then it goes to G, then it goes to E flat. And and I guess maybe that's called Giant Steps, and because they're so far apart. But maybe Barry can help us find a way to make those giant steps into little teeny tiny steps. And so I scoured my notes and I found a handful of different strategies that I'll share with you right now. So the first of them is to understand the idea of the harmonic rhythm. You have 2 beat changes, meaning that the chords change every 2 beats and very quickly. So what you do in that situation in 2 beat changes, the way Barry teaches is you play 1 beat of one and 3 beats of the other. So 2 eighth notes here and 6 eighth notes here. So for example, I have B major for 2 beats, and D7 for 2 beats, and G major for 2 beats, and B flat 7 for 2 beats, and E flat major. And the phrase ends. And it does it again in a different, a third below. So let's look at that first little bit. So if I'm playing B major, I'll just play 2 notes of it. 1, 3, right? The root and the third. B, D sharp. Right away, I have to think I'm in G, or I'm actually in D7, which is the 5th of G, and I land on the G. Let's see what that sounds like. And then I'm in G. I'm already thinking B flat. So let's put that whole string together and see what that sounds like. Well, let's try it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the whole, right? That's the beginning of the song. Let's continue with this and see what else we can do with it. All I did was the root to the root to the root. What if I went, so I went 5th to the 3rd. Now I'm on the D, I come up and then back, and I end on the 3rd of the G, 3rd, 5th. Oh, look at that, 3rd to 5th. Instead of 5th to 3rd, I'll do 3rd to 5th. Listen to what that sounds like. Very easy. Really opens it right up. Let's try another one. What if I decided to maybe put in a couple of half-step rules, right? This is a whole topic for another video, Barry's half-step rules. But let's just show a couple. What if I wanted to use 1 half-step on the D7? Let's see what happens. So I'll go 5th, 3rd. Okay, there's my half step between the root and the 7th. And then maybe I could just surround the 3rd. Let's see what that sounds like. Oh, sorry. Okay, so it leads you. Let's try another one. So what do we have? We have 5th, 3rd. Now I'm in D, 1 half step. And then I just skip up a 3rd and come down the scale. I end up on the 3rd of G. Same thing, 3, 5. Now I'm in B flat right away. 1 half step and come down. See, you can come up with some really interesting lines. See, so these are all ways of getting away from that very patterny kind of vibe that you hear a lot when people play this song. Everybody kind of goes, there's a lot of very pattern, or what's one book I saw, it went, you know, that's a pretty one. And there's value in these, don't get me wrong. Sometimes, you know, you need that. But if you want to start to break away from it and come up with like, there's a great video of Barry where he just does a line all the way down. He goes like, I mean, of course he was doing it to tempo, but every one connects to every one if you're smart about it. So let's look at some other strategies. So we looked at just playing the scale straight, but doing 2 beats of one and 3 of the other. 2 eighth notes of one and 6 eighth notes of the other, or 1 beat of one, 3 beats of the other. We looked at putting some half steps in. What if we use a chord? What's a chord? Skip a note, skip a note, skip a note. Right? Okay, so let's see what happens if I use a chord. Here's a great example of him using a chord. He goes, one. He uses a half step. He goes an eighth note rest and 1. That is really, really pretty and so simple. Let's see what that sounds like. We'll have to practice that one. But anyway, so using chords. What if I use 5-4-3-2? There's a whole video on 5-4-3-2. I'll link to it. A 5 is, and a 4, or 5-4, right? How can we use that? It totally leads you to the next key center. There, I just used a 4. So I start on the 5th of the B, right? And then I waited an eighth note, and I ended up on the 3rd of the B, which leads me to the 5th of the G. I go down 1 step to 4. I do my 4 pattern. If I start right here, 5th of E flat and a 4. Right? So let's see what that sounds like. Okay, so we'll have to practice that one too. There's a lot to practice on this one. What's another beautiful strategy that he does? If I wanted to do a 5. So I could use a 5 there, right? Again, just sowing some ideas. Let's take a look at, I saved the best one for last, and that is the use of the diminished. So there's a couple of videos that I did, one on the diminished genealogy, which is where diminished come from, and the other on permutating the diminished, or doubling the diminished, when you come across it in the context of a 7th chord. Both of which are going to be used here. So for example, and again, I'll link to all of those, okay? But let's take, for example, see, he might start improv class and say, okay, can you play that? Okay, so then you'll play the 5th of B, there's your 2 beats, 1 and, that's it. Then you'll go down an octave, and you end up on the third of D. And there's a diminished seventh chord that lives on the third of every dominant seventh. Right? That leads me to G. Well, isn't that the third of the B flat? Okay, and then to add to it, he says, next I have my A minor to D to get to G to start the next phrase. Why don't I do the F7 down to the third of D? And F7 is, of course, in the diminished family of D, and it's in the diminished family of F sharp diminished. So it's all in the family. So here's the phrase. And so on. So that right there opens up a whole host of permutations, because as you know, I can double around the diminished, I can pivot the diminished, I can do all kinds of things. So I can go, I don't have to go, I can go. Okay, so maybe I might go. So it's, okay, let's try it again. Now, I could also pivot that. That's even easier. So I could put that in my line. I got one in there somewhere. Ideas. Okay, next, I could also start from any diminished note. So I don't have to start on the F sharp. I could start on the A. Right? I could start on the C. Notice I keep coming back to the fifth of G, or to the fifth of E flat, back to the fifth of my target chord. That's a pretty one too. Let me see if I can do this one. Oops, that's pretty. What if I went? I did this one, I did this one. What if I said C? I did C. What about E flat? That's even easier because it's the same note you ended on. Now, it seems like it's getting a little high. Why don't I pivot it? So as you can see, this is already between these three ideas, the 2 of one, 3 of the other, straight scales, adding chords, adding half steps, adding 5, 4, 3, 2, and exploiting the diminished. Already you have so many ideas that you can use to get out of that sort of patterny, that patterny way of playing the song that is so common, and maybe expanding your artistic horizons a little bit. I hope you guys found this video useful, please, I love all the comments. I look at all these videos as conversation starters. That's the nature of this practice, is that it is an ongoing live in conversation. So, so let me know what you think. Give me some ideas. And if you found this useful and you like these videos, please consider visiting my Patreon page, patreon.com/IsaacRaz. And I'll post all kinds of goodies on there, like screenshots of my notes and transcriptions of the videos and all kinds of goodies. So yeah, hope it was useful, and hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next one.